My name's Sasha Pete, and I'm joined by a fantastic individual, a Geelong boy who made it at the highest possible level, Champions League, Olyroos, and made a World Cup squad. None other than the great Joey Didulica. Welcome, Joey.
Thanks, Sasha. Thanks for having me, mate.
So, Joey, tell us, how did you fall in love with our great game?
I'm not exactly sure when. I'm just a lover of sports. I have since an early age, 5, 6 years old. I've just loved to play whatever. I just love to compete. So when I fell in love with football, I can't answer that. I think it's on a level of cricket, golf, Aussie rules, tennis, table tennis, basketball. I'm just a lover of all sports, so I can't really say I love football above all these other sports, to be honest.
Okay.
I just love to compete. I think that's what's driven me my whole career and through life. It's just the game. I just love to play a game and play against someone else.
Okay, fantastic. And when did you first start playing football?
I started at 5 years old. Born from an immigrant dad and grandfather who came out in the early 50s who set up a football club. So soccer's been my life since early days. I just remember going with my mum and dad to watch my brother and watch my uncles play. So I was forever at the club.
Okay, and so you're talking about you grew up in Geelong, so Geelong's got a fantastic pedigree of Croatian migrant community playing there at now North Geelong, so North Geelong, Croatia, North Geelong Warriors now. So what was it like growing up in Geelong and playing for North Geelong?
I've still got the best memories of my footballing, we'll say, journey, which started at Geelong. I mean, every Saturday, Sunday was at the club, watch the seniors play. My mother, worked at the canteen. She was in charge of the junior academy, all squads there, and forever doing work with the juniors. So my fondest memories are just hanging at the club and waiting to pack up and just kicking the ball about with my mates. To this day, probably my best mates are the boys who we had a kick with at 7 years old. So they're the best memories, just that pureness of just being a kid and playing, what we say, backyard soccer.
Yeah, and some of those boys are still involved in the club. You care to mention some names?
Yeah, look, like my best man is involved with the girls now. He's got 2 girls, so he's involved in, in the junior academy there with his daughters. Also, Josip Skorka, another Socceroo. I remember kicking the ball with him early days at the club. His dad was also involved and his brothers. So, we were constantly together, and he's now involved with the NPL, sports director there. That's just to name a few, but all the closest guys around me, are still my mates today.
Oh, fantastic.
And, we remember just eating a cevape roll and, in one hand, a Coke in the other and, playing the game.
Yeah, fantastic. So good cevape at Geelong.
Absolutely. Is the best.
Yeah, so there's always this debate who's got the best cevape, but you got to go down to Geelong and try the cevape. So tell us how you progressed, because I know some people that know you as a junior player, and Mick said that as a 14-year-old you were in the 1%. And you're always trying to do your best. When did you know this might transition into something? At what age?
Look, even when that's hard to say, but I never had ambitions to be a professional soccer player. We didn't grow up with that in our life, right? Because who are our idols? None of them had made transfers overseas, really. That was something that they just had in Europe to be a professional footballer. My goal was always to represent North Geelong, to play in North Geelong. And then we had the Melbourne Knights, which is Melbourne, Croatia back then. That was like the pinnacle. If you made the Melbourne Croatian team, that was the end of it. Whoever thought about a transfer overseas for millions of dollars? That wasn't in the picture. But I never considered myself an elite footballer or unbelievable at soccer. And I just look at my journey and say I was an outfield player until probably 16 when I transitioned into goals. And then from there, I took really fast steps into goalkeeping, and I was really a quick learner, a massive competitor. So in saying that, it wasn't until probably North Geelong seniors when I got a chance at 18 years old in the NPL 1. And I had a full season there and won the Victorian Goalkeeper of the Year. That's when I really thought, geez, you know, I could maybe make something of myself.
That's fascinating. So obviously you're playing like your brother did on the field, and then you go and stick on the gloves and you're in the sticks. So how did that work?
Well, I had a knee operation at 12 years old. I tore some ligaments there at 12, right? And during that season, because I'm a competitor, and they said, just jump in goals. You don't have to run, so be the goalkeeper. So I did that, and as my knee started healing, it was be like, I want to be on the field, so I'll play on the field and go in goals. If we were down, I'd go in as a player, and if we were winning, I would stay in goals. So that was an interesting season of, you know, doing the switch. And then I went back in the outfield because I hated goalkeeping. Well, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like that position. Even to this day, I don't really love goalkeeping. And that sounds stupid because I made a career out of it. But yeah, I love being an outfield player. Even at Ajax, I'd say, put me outfield sometimes. You know, get me involved. And all the clubs I went to, you'd see me always. You know, if you had small-sided games, I'd be out there playing. You know, and I actually loved it. That was my favourite session.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you made your first senior appearance at North Geelong. You said as an 18-year-old, and you spent a season. Is there a season or two there at North Geelong before getting a tap on the shoulder to go to the Melbourne Knights squad?
One season. I spent 1 year in a senior team before making a transfer to the Melbourne Knights, and I signed there for 4 years at the Melbourne Knights.
So fantastic. So just some names. You had Benini from Ghana, the Savinsky brothers, David and Adrian, Ante Kovacevic. You had Joe Simonic, another player who would go on to play alongside yourself in the Croatian national team. You had the veteran Joe Biskic, you know, Lubchansky, Tommy Penedeljak, and obviously Damien Wojtek in that side. Who were some of the boys that you were closest to?
Well, it was an unbelievable transition, to be fair, for me. I had some mentors there in the Savinsky brothers who had achieved everything in the game already, winning championships in the NSL, and you know, were really guys I looked up to. You know, as athletes, you know, as professionals as well. I know they didn't mind a drink or two, which was the culture back then, which is interesting as well when I look back on my career and thinking. Our culture was Friday night to have a few drinks. You know, Saturday, take it easy on Saturday because we played Sunday. But definitely Sunday night was a night you go out, you know, and have, you know, many drinks, you know, and they're the stories to tell. But having that culture and then transitioning into Europe, where it was completely different, was amazing. But back to the Melbourne Knights, I was fortunate enough to have the Savinsky brothers, plus also my best man Mio Trukovic, who also got transferred to the Melbourne Knights, and Ante Deak from Geelong, also from the Knights. And then my brother, John, got transferred from Sydney United back to Melbourne Knights. So we had a big cohort of Geelong players there to really lean off and to be comfortable in the dressing room with. And then we had Andrew Marth as well, who was an influential figure. So there was such a good squad there of guys, you know, young, old, to bring us into the game and to really respect us as junior players.
And so you got your senior debut by a number of other number ones sort of falling over in quick succession. You want to tell us that story?
Yeah, well, we had Frank Juric there, who everyone knew. Frank Juric was a top-class young goalkeeper as well, who ended up transferring and having a good career in Germany. But before that, he transferred, I think it was to Collingwood or Carlton, one of those two, I remember back then. And then Wilson Knezovic, who was also a young keeper who hadn't really developed himself into a first choice keeper at that stage. So he He came in and started the season, and unfortunately for him, he broke his arm after 6 or 7 rounds. And then I was thrown in and, given a chance. So that was by Ian Dobson, who was also an experienced coach then, and was a really good coach. So he gave me the opportunity, and from there I never turned back. I took my opportunity and ran with it, and really enjoyed it.
And passionate times there in the sort of the late 90s. There, talk to me about the rivalries that you would look forward to. Who are the teams that you looked forward to playing against?
Look, back in the day, we had some great rivalries with South Melbourne Hellas. That was the Melbourne derby. There was passion. You'd feel the passion as soon as you enter the grounds there. With the Greeks and the trumpets and the fans. And then you had the Croats on the other side, and then this rivalry went back to the early stages of the NSL. Where there was fights, there was all sorts back in the old passion back in those days. And that again was unbelievable transition into European football as well, because you'd have games where you just feel the vibe, you feel the adrenaline, you feel that sort of attention in the crowd. So those rivalries were really good. Not to mention the other ones when we played against the Croatian derby against Sydney, Croatia. We had likes of we're playing against Popovic and Milicic and these guns.
And you obviously you get a call up in your later stages at the Knights for you start getting called up to the young Olyroos side. So Australia comes knocking, and talk to me about that selection process. How did that come about?
Well, they were really good days as well, the Olyroos, because back in the day, we spent a lot of time in camp because the season didn't go for too long. We were able to, and I think financially, I think the FFA did a great job back then in supporting us as Olyroos. So we were able to tour Argentina with Raul Blanco because he had the Argentinian background, South American background. And so we traveled to Chile, Argentina. We had camps over there. We traveled to Asia and had a lot of games against the Asian teams. Even New Zealand. So we had a lot of tours as a group. And once again, I was fortunate enough to spend that time with some unbelievable players. With Jason Chulina, Brett Emerton, Vince Grella, Bresciano, just to name a few. And then Hayden Fox came in, and obviously some of the bigger players. But the Olyroos were, when I look back to those times, great tours, great games. We spent a lot of times together, whether it be the AIS or touring abroad.
And who did you tend to room with?
The Croats always had a good bond. You'd get into camp, and you'd naturally have that relationship. We always say it's when your culture's the same, it's easy to bond, and we always got along well with we'll say the Croatian players, but. Then the boys from Melbourne, they were all good, actually. They're all really, really good. We had such a good bond with everybody, to be fair. It was always good to see another Croat. Oh,
fantastic. Obviously. And how did it work, that sort of transition? You've got these interests from Europe. How did that interest come about? Talk to me about how you end up signing for Ajax, and was there did you have any other options in the 98 99 season? What happened there?
I ended up signing an agreement with Bernie Mandic from the IMG group. They were a big organisation and they had plenty of contacts. And once again, Bernie Mandic, being a Croat, you sort of have that relationship of trust. And I trusted him as a really nice guy, and he ended up getting me a trial at Charlton Athletic, who were just about to enter into the EPL at that stage. So I went to London. They sent me over there, and I was on trial for a month. After the season, everything was going really well. And then I get a call from Bernie saying, there's a big club in Europe who's interested in you. And I said, you're going to tell me who it is? We can't say who it is, but they're interested. They want to see you tomorrow to come there. And I said, Jesus Christ, I'm about to, have a deal here with Charlton. Don't wreck my chances here. He goes, Joey, trust me, you don't want to say no to this club. I'm there, but you have to tell me what it is. Anyway, toing and froing, and he ends up telling me it's Ajax Amsterdam. You know, they won the Champions League a couple of years prior, massive club. I go, yeah, I know who Ajax Amsterdam are, but so they want me tomorrow. He goes, yes, you have to be on the next flight out of there.
Wow.
So here I am going, my God, I've got Charlton here. I'm just about to finish the trial. Potentially I can be signing with them, you know, in a good deal, and they're going to the EPL. And you're sending me now to Ajax, who there's a big question mark over. I still have to do the trial. And I was exhausted as well, if you can imagine, you know, living out of a hotel for a month. So anyway, I spoke to my brother and, you know, family go, yep, I'm on the next flight to Amsterdam. So I go to Charlton and say, sorry, I've got to take this opportunity to another club in Amsterdam. Anyway, they were disappointed. So I was on the next flight and I arrive in Amsterdam and for my trial. And little did I know that they were going to kill me there in terms of the session. So I trained Monday morning with the second team. Then I trained Monday afternoon with the first team. So that was the way it was. And Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, Wednesday, I played a game. Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, and likewise on Friday. So I was backing up with the sessions and I played a game. I'll get back to the game. So anyway, by Tuesday afternoon, I was knackered. I was cramping, and I thought, you know, I don't know how long I can last. And then Wednesday, after the session in the morning, Wednesday after the session, we went to lunch, midday. I get a call from a manager saying there's a game in the evening, Wednesday evening, against Turkey against Ajax. I'm there, what do you mean Turkey? They say all the Turkish players in Holland are playing a charity game for the earthquake victims in Turkey. So the game's on Wednesday evening, and the goalkeeper's really scared. He doesn't want to play anymore. So I thought, perfect opportunity for me to play. Of course I'll play. So I played in this game. It went really well. I was happy with my performance. And then Thursday in the morning session again, afternoon. And then in the afternoon session, I was on fire. I have to get this contract. You know, I heard the wages, the minimum wage for a foreigner. I have to get this contract. I don't care what happens. They're not going to take. This is my money. I'm not going to let it go. So a ball comes up, and one of the Ajax players run to me, and I just put out my foot, knock him out, and you know, I'm playing, and then the players just stopped. They started talking in Dutch. They said, "No more. This goalkeeper has to go. We can't train with him anymore. You know, he's crazy. We're going to get injured here." So anyway, I said, "Look, what's the problem? Let me play." You know, and the coach came over. He says, "Like, don't worry about them. Don't worry. They're just scared. You know, they're scared. But you know, you're an Australian cowboy, so we like that. We like that here at Ajax. So just keep on going." So I went back out there, got a ball in the head. I started bleeding. They wanted to take me off. I said, "No, I'm on here. I'll wipe it off." And these players were, you know. Anyway, Friday came. Trained again. Friday afternoon came, and then I had a meeting with the board. So we sit around a table in the board, and I didn't know who they were. They were board members. I knew later, but there was the coaching staff of Ajax, the goalkeeper coach, the scout, the head scout, and a few board members. And do I have time? Because
go for it.
Anyway, we're around the table, and you know, I thought there's nothing more I could have done. I had a good game. Training sessions were really good. So we're sitting around the table, and then they said, at Ajax, we have 5 people have to sign off that a new player comes. You know, the 4 scouts have signed off, but the goalkeeper coach still needs to see you for another 2 weeks. So my heart just sunk. I go, oh my God, you know, I cannot do another 2 weeks of this. You know, I've given everything. I'm exhausted. You know, Melbourne Knights are starting up next week. I have to get back. So I just looked up and says, no, I'm not staying. So I went, and this is Bernie Manager can back me up here with this story. I went and shook all their hands, every single man around the table. And I said, but remember my name. Remember the name, Joey Didulica. And I walked out of the board meeting. And as I got out of there, I just dropped to the floor and thought, what have I done? You know, I've just wrecked my chances. Why did I say that? Surely I could do another 2 weeks. What have I done? So Bernie stays in there. Bernie stays in that little room, and keeps talking to him. And they were talking in Dutch to the goalkeeper coach and say, like, you know, what have you done now? We've lost this goalkeeper, blah, 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 blah. Bernie comes out and goes, Joey, that was amazing, man. That was unbelievable. Because they're yelling at the goalkeeper coach for not ticking off. They think they've lost you. So they told us not to sign with anybody, that they're still interested or they want to sign. So, you know, I fly back to Australia, and back in the day, there's no mobile. So I get home and Bernie calls from Europe and says, Joey, you know, I think they want to sign you. We just have to hold off, you know. We have to, you know, negotiate it. And but once again, that was amazing, you know, what you did. So anyway, a week later, you know, I went out with my friends and came back, and my mum said, we got a call from Holland. The deal's done. You know, they want you up there. So
happy days.
Happy days. So that was, yeah, that was the start, I think, of.
Amazing story. So tell me, some of the people in the dressing room of that Ajax dressing room, say some of the names.
Well, yeah, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. That's probably one of the biggest names, you know, around. Yeah, it's Wesley Sneijder, Dutch international, 150 games for Holland. You know, you had Rafael van der Vaart, you know, once again, a Real Madrid player. Need I say more? You know, you had Maxwell, Barcelona,
PSV, Brazilian internationals.
Yeah, they're all internationals. You know, then you had, you know, Christian Kiefel, Romanian international, you know, World Cups, Inter Milan, legend of the game. Steven Pienaar, it's just to name a few, but they were all.
So Nicholas Maklas, who played for Greece. So so quality. I mean, this is Ajax, man. This is Ajax, right? So
I think even now they call it the like one of the best ever junior team to be played, and even like Johnny Heitinga, who was a big player. Nigel de Jong, I mentioned him as well. Stekelenburg. So they're all Dutch internationals when they came runners up.
Yeah,
you know, they were mega stars.
Yeah. So, and you guys, it wasn't too long before that side in 01-02 ended up winning the league. So, what was it like being, you know, of having those club honours in 01-02 season?
Look, when I went to Ajax also, you know, there was such a, you know, we had players like even, you know, when I arrived there, just came from Barcelona, Richard Vichka, he was like a Dutch legend. You know, these guys are so far above my level. It was ridiculous, you know. I even saw it myself. You know, I wasn't delusional to say these guys, I'm diving to the left and the ball's in the right. You know, they were just, you know, even Litmanen, you know, he was there as well when I arrived. You know, I forget his name because, you know, he's not a star now, but
legend of the game.
And Laudrup as well. Laudrup as well was there. Who, you know,
he's another legend of the game.
A legend of the game, and that's not easy to do in the most popular game in the world. But so I found myself really, you know, sinking and drowning. So I had to pull myself up very, very quickly, and it's not an easy thing to do in another country, another culture, another, you know, environment as well, where, you know, in Melbourne I was seen, you know, I had respect. Olyroos, you had respect, and you go there and it's just I wouldn't say disrespect, but the Dutch can be quite cruel. The Dutch are direct, and they'll tell you how it is. There's no sugarcoating it. You're good, you're not, you're not. And their goodies, we're talking stars. Their goodies, you know, Van Basten. So, you know, he's Joey Didulica coming into their environment. Van der Sar just had left, and, you know, you come into probably the best goalkeeper, you know, the world's ever seen. So big shoes to fill. So there's a lot of mind games there, and your mind has to be rock solid, and, you know, you have to be an unbelievable competitor to try to climb that ladder. So I found it really difficult to start. So the 2 years I was there, I was on the bench. And then I even was dropped to the second team on the bench, which was, you know, it's hard. It was a really difficult time for me, but I had to learn quickly. You know, I had to learn how to play it. I had to learn the game, which is critical. You know, you have to go to become tactically so aware of the game, the way Ajax want to play, because you're a goalkeeper. You're the first man to start the attacks, the defense. You know, and people don't realize that, but you have to know the philosophy inside out. You have to know how the game's played, how to, you know, increase the momentum, decrease when you're winning. You control the tempo of the game. All of these things you have to learn. And that's not easy for a guy out of Geelong who didn't become a goalkeeper until he was 17. So it's, it was difficult. And thankfully I climbed myself up and got my debut chance, which was really good.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, massive club, and you got to play in a Champions League game. So tell us what that was like.
Yeah, fortunately that season we won the league the season before that, so we got automatic inclusion into the Champions League. And I remember watching Champions League on TV, the music that comes across, we are the champions, that music.
Yeah.
And, that's always in the back of the head. I always want to experience, I always want the camera to pan, across me. So that moment came, I made my debut against Rosenborg away from home before making, some other games there. But the first game was the moment that the camera came across and panned and looking at it. I thought, I'm a part of it now. Yes, tick that box. But that's something that you don't even dream of, to be a Champions League player, because I truly believe the Champions League is the best competition in the world. Even the World Cup, for me, doesn't come close, because in the Champions League, you only have great teams. You cannot be a New Zealand and play in the Champions League, or a team out of Africa or South Korea.
Yeah.
To say, they're okay, but they're not the best of the best. Champions League for me is the best of the best. The best players are playing, hands down.
Yeah. Yeah. So big honour. So you put obviously in front of big crowds, big expectations. And you obviously were the type of player that would throw your whole heart and soul into any time that you had to stand in between the sticks, including throwing your body. You're talking about that incident at training where that collision. So that was part of your nature. Talk to me about what would be your mindset being in between the sticks and trying to stop that goal. What would you be willing to do in order to stop a ball going in the net?
Sasha, anything. And that's where I got myself into trouble. My mindset was, you do what you can. And I think that's being such a competitor, Sasha. That's from a young age, perhaps having an older brother. When you've got an older brother and you're always competing, you're never winning. Which is my nature. My brother was the most competitive person I've ever met. So to play marbles against him would end up in a fight if I end up coming, or showing some promise.
Yep.
I was constantly losing, and even if I got close, you'll do anything to win. So when I started winning and having some success, I thrived and I loved it. So going back to your question, what would you do? I would do anything. So I would throw my head in front of the ball when they're shooting full power and think, yeah, well done, an amazing job. You've saved the ball. You've won the game. You would. And look, it's also, I used to hit plays and I got hit, and it was just part of the game, part of the nature. So to break a finger and play, no issue. If you look at my hands now, they're all
mangled.
They're mangled. But you'd play, you'd strap it up and you'd go out there. Even sprained ankles, you tape it up and you go out there. Even though the repercussions down the track is bad.
Yes.
But when I say that, I wouldn't have had the career I did without that. You can't have both.
Yeah, this is the sacrifices people don't realise, that you end up paying a price, and sometimes that price is long lasting. So
even Sasha, look, I was fortunate enough to be nominated in Austria Vienna's 100 years. So like the 100 years of the club, the team of the century. And when I went there, it was amazing that everybody who walked on stage in team of the century, my God, you had they're all hobbling, hip replacements at, 50 years old, bad necks, ankles are shot that they're on crutches and they're, turning 60. So all these legends have all got something. They're all now paying the price for it. So you ask him if you do it again, I will say yes.
Yes, yeah. It's unbelievable. So you had some success there in Austria, in the Austrian First Division. Obviously, good club. And you were number one in the sticks there, obviously, and well regarded. The Austrian League is nothing to sneeze at. You played many games for them. Talk to me about your time there. You won a title there and a couple of cups. Was that an exciting time in your career?
It was a great time. It was truly a tremendous time. I ended up. It was when I left Ajax, it was surprising that I would go there. And do I regret it? No, I don't regret it, but I definitely could have gone in a different course. Could have gone, we'll say now, the Spanish division, first division there, and played for Espanyol, who gave a great offer. But I always wanted to win, and that's probably my question, my downfall. I always wanted to be winning championships, playing Champions League, playing in Europe. And unfortunately, I wasn't good enough for Real Madrid or Barcelona. So I ended up deciding playing for Austria, where our ambition was to play in the Champions League and win the league. And they bought some great players. So I had a lot of success there. We, goalkeeper of the year there. We won championships. We played in Europe, quarterfinals of the Europa League. Just missed out in the semi-finals there. And winning cups, super cups. So that was a tremendous time with winning things. Not all great stories from Austria, because I sort of got driven out of that country. But it was good.
Yeah. So obviously I understand that you had an interesting court case there that I think people can look into, that you were vindicated of, but it's interesting what ends up happening on the football field. You were named obviously in the team of the century, so great accolade. Regardless of whichever team it is, whether it's Timbuktu United's team of the century, right? It's a great honour, and you're part of that club's history.
Absolutely, especially in Austrian football back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they were regarded as the best league in the world. Austrian football. You had, if you just look into the history of the club, with Schindler, this is back in post World War II. This is his era as well. They were massive. The Germans, the Austrians, really, really big leagues back then.
Yeah. And you after success with Austria, you go back into the Dutch First Division. So a league that you're familiar with, and you spend time with AZ for a number of years. So tell me about what was like at AZ.
Look, that was Louis van Gaal called me actually at the World Cup, 2006 World Cup. Louis gives me a call and says, "We want you to come to AZ. I'm the coach here. We're building a brand new stadium there just out of Amsterdam. I've got Shota Arveladze. I've got an unbelievable, talented team. We're going to win the championship." And AZ were always considered sub-top. They were always, third, fourth, fifth, third, sort of hovering around the top two. And Louis had some success. They went to the semi-final of the Europa League, so they were doing really, really well at that stage. He said, "You just need a goalkeeper like me." So when Louis calls you, you got to respect it. So I was also coming off a good season at Austria Vienna, but I thought now's my chance to move, just because of what happened. It was quite dangerous to be there in Vienna at that stage for me, for my wife and I, because of, in one of the derby games, I hit a player going up for a ball. I was taken to court, got found guilty of that in a court of law, which happened on the football field. I had to appeal, and then finally I got off that charge. Yep. But it was just a tension in Vienna, because that was against Rapid Vienna. Yep. If I'd go out to a restaurant or whatever it was, you wouldn't feel safe. And my daughter was pregnant. My wife was pregnant with my daughter, and we just didn't feel safe as a family there. So we ended up making the move.
Yeah. So obviously, football football passion sometimes spill into people doing silly things. So, for the safety of your family, it makes sense to go, your quality, you're playing, World Cup football, you've got probably a choice of clubs to play for. It only makes sense to move across to AZ. And you guys got some success in your time there.
We did. We ended up winning a championship there as well. We won the Super Cup as well. So we had some success there too. For a club, we played Champions League there at AZ Alkmaar. Unfortunately for me, it's probably my worst time as a footballer. After coming there after round 8, I received a ball to the head, which severely concussed me, and I was unconscious for up to an hour. I was out of it, which ended up I was out for 2 years with that injury. I suffered a whiplash. I'm still suffering to this day, the effects of it. So that really, really knocked me out, and it took me a long time to recover from that. A long time.
We were talking about the effects of football, and like even in the modern game, we're starting to think about how do we implement, better safety measures for our juniors, heading of the ball, etc. And you talk about the older boys who played with, the old pigskin balls. These balls would end up in waterlogged pitches, and they would, head of the ball. A lot of these older boys are suffering now from dementia, the likes of, great Socceroos like Manfred Schaefer, etc. So, the health and well-being of a footballer is important. And I think we can learn a lot from our past experiences and take it into the modern game to look after player well-being. What would you say, because you've had a lot of experience at the professional level as well as football safety, what would you say, what would be your comment to that?
Definitely, look, when you look back at junior football, hitting the ball, I don't think it's necessary, to be fair, hitting the ball at that young age. Even as an adult, look, I don't think you can change the rules of the game now. Is it safe? No. Is a lot of things safe? No. But I think definitely a head shouldn't be used as like a bat, if you can say like that, because it's not. A head shouldn't be used to hit a balls, in a direction and hitting 30, 40 meters. That's why we have the skull to protect our brains. The most fragile part of the human body. So I wouldn't suggest it. It's not good. Whether it leads to dementia or not, time will tell. But I know from my experiences, am I the same? Definitely not. Have I suffered? For sure.
So there's obviously research going into this, that in other sports like boxing or American gridiron football, of the consistent clashes. Obviously, it doesn't happen as often in football with the heading of the ball. And now the balls are a lot lighter than they were back in the day. Several kilos of a ball versus the ultralight balls of today. But I think we need to be mindful of what happens on a football pitch. We're both junior coaches now, and looking after the well-being of young footballers, I think, is important. So you are a proud Australian with Croatian heritage. And you played for Olyroos. You obviously selected to play, and you took on that choice without a doubt, and played with the boys. A lot of those boys went on to play for the first team. Talk to me about that time. Now you're in Europe. Zagreb's around the corner. The Croatian officials can very easily, call on you, speak to you, take you out to dinner. What was that decision like about you being in contention for the Socceroo side? How much sort of love did you get from the Australian Federation versus the Croatian Federation for you making that first team selection?
Look, I don't think it's a about who gave you more love, you choose that X or Y. I think this is a national team. I'm a proud. I love Australia. I truly love it. That's why we live here. I think we live in the luckiest country in the world. And I'll never diss Australia. That's for sure. But when it comes to football and when it comes to my life, we live in Australia, but with Croatian culture, right? You know, the food we eat, Croatian, language we speak, you know, brought up Croatian. The friends that we have are all Croatian. The team you play for, socially Croatian. You go to dances, you know, weddings, Croatian music. We live like a Croatian, but in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So when it came to football, I felt Croatian.
Yeah.
You know, we score a goal, you're kissing the badge, the Croatian badge.
Yeah.
We didn't have a country back then as well. So we weren't recognized. So going to school, we're Croatian, we're proud Croatian. We're always fighting. We're always fighting to be recognized. And that means a lot. That means a lot when you see your family. And also when the war broke out as well, they're giving their money to Croatia to help defend, you know, the country that we've only seen or been there once on a holiday. So I truly felt Croatian, and I do now as well feel Croatian. So when it came to the decision, Croatia were watching my games as well. You know, they would go, you know, from Zagreb, it was 2 hours to Vienna, or 3.5 hours, sorry, to Vienna. So they were watching games. You know, you see it live on television as well. So they were constantly watching and constantly showed interest. Even when we were with Ajax, Zlatan and I sat down with the delegates from Croatia to find out where we're from and our histories and all of that. So they were already poaching back then when I was playing Champions League.
Yeah.
You know, about playing for Croatia. But I didn't give any indication I wanted to. It was just they were just discussing it.
Yep.
As was Australia. I was invited also when Croatia and Australia, when England played Australia in Wembley, I was on the list of goalkeepers to go. Last minute I didn't go, but I was definitely on the list. I have the shirt at home, actually, the Australian top with my name on it.
Wow.
That
close, huh? It was that close.
Yeah, that was in, I think it was, 2003? Could have been that game. Anyway.
Yeah.
But 2004 was when Croatia finally sat down and said, look, Joey, we really want you. We want you to go to the Euro Championships in Portugal with us, with the Croatian team. We want you to play now for us. You know, this coming Sunday, whatever it is, we'll announce you in the team. The first time I didn't, but in I think a month later, I decided, I want to go to the Euros. I want to represent Croatia, and that's when it happened.
And so this is a sort of a crescendo, you know, young Croatian Australian boy playing in Geelong for, like you said, you know, moving up the ranks. You know, you're talking about, you know, eating the cevape, playing for Melbourne Knights. You know, Joe Simonic made a similar choice as you did, and in that same Knights background, boys like Mark Viduka and Jason Chelina made the different choice, obviously, to play for Australia. And, you know, so I think it's an interesting conversation to have for myself. Obviously, the same. We're a year apart, so we're the same age. So for me, I understand your decision. Obviously, I would have made a different one. For me, if given the choice, there wouldn't be a choice for me. I'd play for Australia, but I respect your decision to play for Croatia. So, what was that like in that game? Obviously, you watched from the sidelines, seeing Joe on the pitch. You got Jason and Mark playing, and that result. What a crazy game! Yeah,
that was quite surreal, to be honest, because a lot of my friends were playing on the opposite team, Australia. And I spent, as we said, years with these boys in the Olyroos, you know, in a little stingy little hotel place where we all stayed and we built memories from. You know, and that's Cristiano, Grella, Brett Emerton, Jason, all, like, there was probably about 7 of them. And then you also had guys like Popovic, you know, who I respected, my idol Željko Kalac, who I knew well. Ante Kovic as well. So all of these boys, and Josip Skorka as well, who, we grew up, a kilometre apart in Geelong.
Yeah.
So, I knew these boys really well. So, it was a great moment for me, really. It was surreal.
And obviously very interesting game, obviously the tough game. So what was that feeling like? So other than surreal, so obviously you're competitive, so you want to win. If you were asked to go in the middle of the sticks at any given moment, I know you would throw your body in to do a job, to win. Is that the overall feeling, that regardless, I want to win?
Look, when you're not playing, it's different, of course. When you're out there, yeah, absolutely. When you're not out there, it's, if Australia go through, great. Of course you want Croatia to win.
Yeah.
But the feeling is different when you're playing and when you're not playing. That's, to be honest, that's what you have to.
So tell me about the games that you did play for Croatia. What were the games that you were in the sticks? You played a number of games. You played against Macedonia, Korea Republic, Hong Kong, and Austria. So which of those games, that you were in the sticks for, that you thought stick out in your mind?
Look, the first game was great. When you make your debut for a nation, that's brilliant. That was against Macedonia, and that's a story in itself, because our big rivalries in Geelong with the Massos. So it was always the Crows against the Massos, and you make your debut for Croatia against the Massos. So we won that game. So at least I can say we've never lost to a Macedonian team in my life.
Yeah.
Which is always a bonus. But then I played against Austria. My last time was against Austria, which is also, it was a big moment as well, because I played in Austria, and the Austrian fans sort of half didn't like me, half loved me. So it was that was a special one as well. But unfortunately, I didn't make any games in the World Cup. But so be it. As a goalkeeper, it's always difficult to come on in the last minute or 10 minutes. So you never really get a chance.
Yeah. So who are your best mates out of that time in that Croatian national team?
I played with Mario Tokic. He was a good mate. Obviously, Joe Šimanić from Australia. Ante Šerić, also an Australian boy. But I really got along with the Kovac brothers, Niko Kovac and Robbie Kovac. They were born in Germany as well. They had a different mentality, and so those boys were all really good. And even Luka Modric was a young boy when we were there in the 2006 World Cup. So I got along well with all the young boys. They would want to shoot. I'll stay out there all day for shooting. They would want to shoot, and so it was always that competitiveness as well. Okay. So I built good bonds with the young boys, especially.
So that's interesting. The memories that you have is the boys who want to do extras after the session, right? And you're staying in goals, and they want to do extras, taking shots, and you're out there doing that competitive nature.
But you know what it is? They don't call them extras. Here in Australia, everything's, we've got a session. This is the extras, 5-10 minutes extras, and that's where we go wrong. Whereas over there, the coaches don't care. You know yourself. There's no extras there. They go until they know themselves, until they can't go anymore. And we're talking about Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We're talking about Luka Modric, these boys. I spent more time probably with them off the field doing these extras than we did on the field. So that's why Australia is competing with, Vietnam in the world rankings, and not against Brazil.
This is interesting. So this is a mentality. Maybe we're not actually comprehending the level that the likes of the top boys in the Croatian national team are going to. They're young boys, and the amount of time that they compete, and what our Aussie boys, because you can talk to this. You've coached at the highest possible level in this country. Obviously, being involved with my club, Melbourne City, you see the boys coming through, right, and what they do, and you also experience what happened overseas, or what those boys do, and where the differences are.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be a doctor, but you don't want to study. Impossible. It's chalk and cheese. These boys we're doing probably 1/10 of what they're doing, and we're expecting to be just as good, to compete on the same level. It's impossible. And I understand why in saying that, I understand why Melbourne cities of the world don't allow them to do extras, because they've got to, watch their players. They've got 15 players. That's all that they can have because of the salary cap and what have you. You can't buy players. In Europe, 3 strikers get injured, you buy a fourth. Well, $5 million, 10 million, 50 million, whatever you want to spend, you buy another one. And that's why youngsters get their chance through sometimes default. So I understand why, but I also know for a fact why we're not producing great players, because they're not doing enough.
And so what would your advice be to any young 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old now? What do they need to do?
Well, they need to train more. They need to be obsessed with the sport. And also on that, I understand why they're not, because of the culture here in Australia. Europe, you have a culture of street football. You have a culture of football. They're watching games prime time every night. Champions League Tuesday, Champions League Wednesday, 8:30. You sit with your dad, you get popcorn, and you're watching the game. Thursday, you got Europa League, popcorn again. Friday, you're watching, your local competition, whether it's a Spanish division, you got a game Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's football, except Monday nights. And not only that, after school, you pop your bag at home and you're going out and you're playing, in your little area, you got little street football everywhere. So you've got 5v5, 6v6s, Saturdays, they're playing for 7 hours. Your boy, you take him to an academy for 50 minutes, you've given your money, and that's his day done. So we're spending an unbelievable amount of money on these kids that they're not going to be professional footballers, that we're sucked into the illusion that they're going to make something, the perception that by going to this academy, that Billy's got, unbelievable. We train in execution. Look, the ball goes from A to B. Great. Look at him progressing. No, that's bullshit. Sorry for the language, but in Europe they train, and I spoke to Zlatan about this as well. Where did you train your scanning? Where did you train this? He says it's easy. They would, I was so good that, Zlatan, I was so good that the ball comes and they wanted to break my legs from behind. So we had to scan to see who's coming. You had to be sharp to turn quickly. So we turn quickly and give him a nutmeg, to embarrass him. Yeah. That's a difference where we don't experience that in Australia. It's all, Jimmy, have you looked over your shoulder left and right? Yeah. Well done, Jimmy, you did it.
So it's this notion of structured versus unstructured play. And football is chaos, right? In a game, you're going to experience many, many different things. Hours and hours and hours of experience gives the player the idea of what they call now PDE to make that sort of what's happening perception, make a decision, execute, right? But in that moment and hours and hours of this unstructured play gives the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic the ability to know what to do in any given moment.
Yeah, look, Australia traditionally, from what I've seen, has got an execution paradigm. It's all about execution. But football is, if you cannot see the game, if you haven't got the perception of the game and see it before it happens, the execution's worth nothing. We see all these kids who can do step overs and, look at this, look how fast. When it comes to the game, he doesn't even know where to receive the ball.
Doesn't know where to stand.
He doesn't know where to stand. He can't manipulate space. If you look like Ajax, I spent years at Ajax after my session going and watching the junior academies because I was fascinated at these 7, 8-year-olds, what they're doing, how they're finding the space. And I too was learning the game at Ajax too, remember. So I was told, go down and speak to some of the junior coaches, talk to them, learn the game. Because if you learn the game, then you'll be a better goalkeeper. You'll know where to stand, even when you're receiving the ball to maximize your space. If you got 2 strikers there, I was standing close to one to receive, so then he's attacking me quickly. So instead, I stand right in the middle where I can get as maximum time from the pass back. Once again, talking about seeing it, and then the perception, and then manipulating the space, even as a goalkeeper, let alone outfield players. So, it's a massive, massive area in Australia that we need to get on top if we want to start producing players. But once again, these academies, are really raping our, of our money and of everything, because they just give, and they're not really helping in producing a player.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's an interesting point. Obviously, we're both involved, and parents don't know better, so they'll obviously, it's the same idea that if I send my child to the best private school, then they'll make them the best possible student.
But if the student doesn't want to also study at home, then he's not going to become the best possible student too, right?
Yeah, so the same notion applies, right? So if the kid doesn't want to put into their studies, then regardless of the school level that you put them in, it's not going to work out, right? So
I do believe though a coach can fast forward development. You can help Jimmy become a better soccer player quicker.
Yeah.
But to make a soccer player, no, that's definitely not the case.
Yeah. So it's an interesting topic, and one that I think is food for thought for everybody listening to this podcast. So tell me, you've gone on now to coach at numerous levels. You talk about you spent time at Ajax. Obviously, you had time at Melbourne City. What has been your learnings as a coach? Now you transition from a professional footballer to now you're teaching others about the game. What is it that what have been your learnings as a football coach?
I think what started my passion for coaching was Ajax, because they're a lot about educating also the players on the game, and that's their biggest strength. I think they get young players playing in the Champions League at, if you see now, 20 years old. When I was with Ajax Champions League, our average age was 21, and we're playing against. I remember playing against Inter Milan at 21. I was the third oldest. I was 24 years old, but our average was 21 years. And that's what they're doing now constantly as well. They get into the semi-finals again with kids. And it's their education. They're educating these players on, as we spoke about before, the game. We're playing a game, and there's patterns of plays here. There's patterns. And as you said before, you touched on, there are millions of variables in football. No ever two games are the same. So they teach them in patterns of play, what to expect, where we need to be, how to manipulate space. Messi manipulates space the best out of any player. Not his speed or dribbling. Yeah, it's great. But why is he the best? Because he manipulates space. He sees it.
He finds the pockets. He finds the pockets of space. Yeah.
And at the right time, he knows exactly where. He knows the game well. And they do that brilliantly well. And I've seen so many times, I spent two weeks at Ajax and I watched every session. I've jotted it down. Here, I can do this, I can do that. You got no idea, son, because you don't know the way they teach, the inner. As Pep Guardiola said, you can see all my training sessions on YouTube. Go. But you're not Pep Guardiola because you don't know how he's teaching and what he's teaching. You're going to understand it. And that's what Ajax do well. They understand all the players, the game.
Yeah, it's not about the passing practice, right? No. It's not about the cones and the passing practice. Yeah. No. The fantastic advice, and you from a boy from Geelong who never thought he'd play, make it as a professional footballer. First of all, that I didn't know that you transitioned as a keeper so late. You've got the best story. Obviously, you're still involved with football. You're doing a little bit of work at the PFA. Tell us about what you're doing there.
Yeah, I just help out the PFA with Melbourne City a couple of days a week, just with the players, helping the players, just evolve pretty much holistically, and to see it also football and just to develop themselves.
Yeah,
the field as well.
Yeah, developing a life, making them better people. Joey Didulica, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for spending this time. I'm sure you've got lots of fans out there. You gave it all. You got the best out of your football, sacrificed your body. And hopefully you got something out of football as well. And you're continuing to give. So thank you so much, sir.
No worries. Thank you so much for your time as well, Sasha. See you, mate.